10 random magic cards rated. Day number 1, 2, 3. I like how that worked out. What's the first card of the day? It's a funky day. What is it? It's Grapeshot Catapult. It is a funky day. This is originally printed as a common in Antiquities, but I am much, much more familiar with it as a common from 4th edition. This is 4 mana for an artifact creature. It's Construct. It's a 2/3, and you can tap it to deal a damage to target creature with flying. Pretty bad. It's just, I guess it kills deep cavern bats. Hey, they should have reprinted this in Foundations. And we'd have had a main deck option against DCB. Don't laugh. Somebody will do it. My favorite thing about this card is the purple bat. It sucks that they nailed it. I wish they hadn't have done what they did to it. But it makes sense that a goblin would be really happy about that. You see what I did? It's like, yeah, you monster. Anyways, maybe the bat had rabies. This is a bad card. This is a 1.8. It can kill stuff sometimes. You know what I mean? It can do that. Ooh, Oktras Monument. This is a sick card, dude. I miss the monuments. I miss like all the monuments. Bantu's. Whoo. Ooh, Bantu's Monument. This one, though, is 3 mana for a legendary artifact. White creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. Holy crap. So, the turn after you play this, you can play a 5-drop, theoretically, creature. So, it's white ramp if you're playing a bunch of 5-drop creatures. But what this actually does is it makes a bunch of cheap creatures way less, right? Like this lets you double spell on your turn 4, even if you don't drop a land, like really easy. You play a 2-drop and a 3-drop on 3 mana now, which is bananas. It's absolutely bananas that this card allowed you to do that. And if you do go like, a Ketras on 3 and then 3-drop, 2-drop on 4, then you just got 4 dudes on the board. That's 4 guys. There were a lot of times where, and I think that there are deck techs on the channel reflecting this, where I played this in like aristocrats decks, sacrifice decks. Because a lot of those decks will play, white creatures that this reduces the cost of, but it also just like spits out little dudes. Very like a lot of little dudes. The card is still somewhat expensive-ish in Commander. We're almost at $5 in Commander for this card from Amonkhet. Now, if you get this list printing, it's $2.89. So still $3 for list printing. Card has to be respected in Commander. A lot of white decks will play the obvious one of the Silver Bullet because they have to. Oktras Monument. Just a lot of value over the course of the game. It's not restricted to once per turn. There's cost reduction on it. Not a whole lot of ramp in white for what it's worth. So love this. We'll always love it. I think it's one of the stronger monuments along with Bantu's. I think it's fantastic. The red one's okay, if I'm remembering correctly. But the white and black ones are my favorite. Go figure. I'm a Norzov guy, but still, the white and black ones are kind of insane. So I'm going to give this one, Oktras, a 6.29. A 6.29. I mean it. Again, we're rating for casual Commander, and I honestly think there's a good argument to give the card a higher score than that. I really do. But next up is by invitation only, baby. This is a 5 mana, 3 and 2 white. It's from Crimson Vow. You get a sorcery here. Choose a number between 0 and 13. Each player sacrifices that many creatures. Underappreciated card. That's what I'll tell you. Underappreciated card for tokens decks, both in Standard when it was in Standard and obviously in Commander. I think this is an interesting, choice because sometimes you'll just have more guys in them. You know what I mean? Like you'll have like, I don't know, 8 dudes and like everybody else have 5 guys. Again, we're talking about burgers today. It's going to make me hungry. I record all these in like one big batch. So I've just been talking about 5 guys these last 2 videos. Makes me want some French fries. I'm not going to do it. That'd be a horrible decision, but it would make me feel better. I do want to feel better. I'm not going to do it. It costs too much. That's the real reason you can't eat at Five Guys. What is it, like $80 for a burger and fries? Stop it. But by invitation only, again, if you have like a few more dudes than your opponent, it's a lot more one-sided. And I always liked that about this card. I built a few decks when this card was in Standard that did try to like lopside things, and I always kind of liked it. I did. We're getting a card in Foundations that's like a black version of this. It's like crossed with Blasphemous Act. If there's 13 dudes on the table, you can cast it for a single black mana, and just like everyone sacks all their creatures. This I honestly think is better, again, because you can offset it in some way or another if you want to. So I think it's a decent, again, underappreciated wide sweeper. 5 mana wide sweepers aren't the best thing in the world, but this gets around, Indestructible and other weird shenanigans and stuff like that. And I've always kind of really liked it. So I'm going to give this a 5.4. I think it's a more than solid, like acceptable wide sweeper. I really do. But next is Exhaustion from Portal and also Urza's Saga. I am much more familiar with the Urza's Saga art. 3 mana, 2 and a blue. For a sorcery, creatures and lands target opponent controls do not untap during his or her next untap phase. So this is a really annoying card back in the day. And, I imagine this could still be a really, really annoying card nowadays, like if you played it in Commander, but it just targets one opponent and only works for one turn, right? So unless you can keep getting it out of your graveyard and using it over and over, which is kind of how we did it back in the day, you just use effects to either shuffle this back in or get it straight out of your graveyard and put it in your hand and play it more or less every turn, then it's not good. But there was a point where it was good for that exact reason, right? Because if you can play the card more or less every turn, then you will win the game. Like, either that or you just annoy them until they throw their cards at you and leave your house and never come back. So this card has personally aggravated me a lot, but I don't think it's anywhere near as irritating as it once was. I was gonna say good, but I'm not sure the card was ever quite truly good. I don't know if that's the right, but but I will say that the card like got me a few times. So I like it. I want to give it the honorary 5, but I don't think it deserves that. I'll give Exhaustion a 4, and even that I think is probably slightly too high. I really do. But I'm still going to stick it with a 4 because I've got some fond and not so fond memories of this card kind of locking me out of the game for entire sleepovers. You know what I mean? like whole weekends, this card would lock me out of games. So good job building decks back then, Ryan. If you're watching, you're not, but just in case you ever see this, good job building decks. I got to get off this card. Might Overseer is up next from Phyrexia. All will be one. 4 mana, 3 and a white for a 4/2 Phyrexian soldier with first strike. As long as it's your turn, creature tokens you control get +1/+0 and have first strike. That's just a good line of text. For 3 and a Phyrexian white mana, so you can pay a white or you can pay 2 life for that. Create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature token with Toxic 1, and this creature can't block. So create one of them mites that you see. It's got Toxic, can't block. Every time I see this card, I think it's okay. Like, it doesn't see any play in Standard. It probably won't. It's only got like another year to see any play in Standard. But it's a 4 mana, 4 power first strike. Okay, I understand the toughness is a problem, but I'm just talking positives. A 4 mana, 4 first strike with 4 power and an Anthem effect. And it gives those guys first strike. And it's a mana sink that makes guys. I think as far as the mana sink part, the making dudes thing, like I think most games you would just rather have like Fountain Port or Mirex or something. A card that costs nothing to get into play. But altogether, man, and the card's not like super cheap. It is less than $1. It's like 43 cents and 64 cents to get copies of this card. But, there are plenty of rares from All Be One that are like 15 to 20 cents. So like somebody in Commander's ordering this card. Like somebody, somewhere, It's a good show, by the way, on HBO Max. Somebody somewhere, give it a shot. But this, on the other hand, I'm going to give like a 4.9 to, because it is so close. It's just so close. Let's give it a 5. Let's give this a 5. I think that, this is like, when I say the average Magic card is good nowadays, I keep like really stressing that point. Like somebody the other day said Cancel should be a 5. I think there was a point where Cancel was the baseline, so a 5, right? But I think that in today's Magic, we've moved to a point where the average card is actually like pretty good looking. You know, I think that cancels like a 4 nowadays. I really do. Whereas again, it used to be a 5. Might Overseer, I think deserves a 5. I think it does, and I've justified all my reasons, and I don't want to repeat myself. So let's move on to Balance of Power. This is originally from Portal over here, and Three Kingdoms, but also printed in 8th edition. Let's go to Portal. This is 5 mana for a sorcery, so 3 and 2 blue. If target opponent has more cards in hand than you, draw cards equal to the difference. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Sure, you know, there are spots where this is going to draw you 7 cards. Oh my goodness, you know. It's going to draw you 4 cards, and that's not terrible. That's a Tidings, right? 5 mana for 4 cards. But it isn't good. There's a reason that 8th edition printing is 16 cents. The list printing is 17 cents. The Portal printing is 46 cents. It's really not good. The Portal 3 Kingdoms one is a rare from Portal 3 Kingdoms, so it's $50. That's just how that works. This is not good. This is not good. Sometimes this will draw you no cards. Like, especially in blue, like for a vast majority, like portion of the game, it's probably going to draw you 0 cards for 5 mana at sorcery speed. So I'm going to give Balance a 2.2, and like a whole 0.8 of that, I swear, comes from like the ceiling of the card, but I really don't think you're going to achieve the ceiling very often. I really don't. Mizium Mortars. We've done this card recently. I think it's very good. Scatter the Seeds over here is 5 mana. Originally printed in Ravnica City of Guilds, a card that I kind of like. 3 and 2 green for an instant with Convoke. And you can put 3 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens into play. So 5 mana for 3 guys, but obviously, if you did it right, it's no mana for 3 guys at instant speed, which is kind of part of the key to this card, is that when your opponent tries to get in, you can tap down like your 2 actual guys you don't want to block with, like the 2 dudes you're attacking with or that are important to your plan, and like help you cast this for, 2 to 3 mana, chump block their guys, and then get in with your huge dudes. And they never saw that coming. They didn't factor that into the combat math or whatever, so it can help swing games. You can also EOT, tap down, again, 3 of your dudes, cast this for 2 mana at the end of your opponent's turn and get 3 tokens. And of course, creatures coming into play with like Impact Tremors abilities, that'll be good. The Anthem effects, this is really good with and stuff. And also, 1 copy helps you cast another, right? So once you've scattered the seeds, you can tap those 3 guys to play another one. When this card was in limited as a common, there were times where people would scatter the seeds twice in 1 turn and use the first scatter to cast the second scatter and all that. So this card is just better than it looks, and a lot of that is because of the instant speed. Striking during the combat step is a really important part of this. I don't think it's good anymore, but obviously there are Saprolings decks in Commander. They're super few and far between, especially in this day and age, but there is such a thing as a Saprolings deck in Commander. So I'm going to give this a 4.8, and I'm like 100% dead serious. I think some people would look at this and be like, 3.7. But no, this does so much because of the speed of the card that you don't necessarily see when you evaluate the card the first time. It does so much. But next is Avalanchelchcaller from Kaldheim. 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 1/3 snow human wizard. You can pay 2 and target snow land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature with hexproof haste till end of turn. It's still a land. You guys remember when people would play this in the arena? You guys remember that? When this card was actually like it wasn't played at the top tiers of standard. I don't know that it ever was. But in the arena, you'd come across this weird like blue-green deck playing Avalanchelchcaller, and it was always like, okay, it was kind of all right in that deck. But all things considered, I still just have to give this like a 3, which is actually a slightly more solid score than I thought I was about to give it. But I will give it a 3. I will. Snow decks, whatever. Outside of snow decks, just 2 mana, 1/3 is terrible. But like in snow decks, sure, you'll play it sometimes. But final card of the day is Bad Moon, man. Oh, I see Bad Moon rising. It's a good card, dude. Look at that art. Look at Jesper Marfers over here. This is weirdly, this is some of my favorite Magic art of all time, and I'm like so dead on that. I mean it. Like I love the little road winding into the mountains. I love the mountains. I love these trees. I love the silver lining and the black clouds. I love how the moon is a skull. I love this art. Like so much. I love this art. Just absolutely gets me every time, dude. I love it. This is, I haven't even said what it does yet. It's 2 mana, 1 and a black for an enchantment. All black creatures in play get +1/+1. So not just your guys, but their guys too, right? Man, this is $62 from Unlimited. That's nuts. Revised, it's still $6.50. Revised is starting to trend back up. So is 4th edition. This is the second time in a video or two that we've seen a card from 4th edition be more expensive than it really should be. It's $3.32. This should be like $1. Like $1.50 from 4th edition right now. It would have been, I feel like, a while back. But anyway, all that aside. Bad Moon's awesome. This is a 2 mana Anthem effect for not a creature type, a color of creature. What? It's even easy to cast. So like you think you play it mono black, right? But no, you can play it in blue black that just happens to have all of its creatures are black, right? But they can be like Dimir and they still count as black, you know? In Orzhov, you can play Bad Moon. You can, as long as like all of your creatures are black or black-white, because they still count as black creatures. These are things that I've done. God, I miss Bad Moon. I miss this being a real card. I really do. The last time I resolved this card to the table was playing games for Mono Black Cube. If you haven't seen Mono Black Cube, it's actually one of my favorite videos. It's like that we've ever done on this channel. Making it was fun. Researching it was fun. Playing it was fun. Recording the video was fun. It's just, I was having the time of my life with Mono Black Cube. It might be among my favorite videos ever. Watch that video. But anyway, that's the last time I resolved this card. And again, it's Mono Black Cube. So like all their guys are also black creatures. So like how good is Bad Moon actually? But you still just play it in like creature centric decks and like blow their guys away with good black removal, and suddenly it still benefits you more because you have more creatures. God, I love you, Bad Moon. I was gonna say honorary 5, but again, just like the other day, I feel like that would be disrespect in some ways. Bad Moon is a 2 mana Anthem effect for all creatures of a color, not just like Merfolk or some dumb, you know, like that's so good, dude. 6. I'm just doing it, and I want to give it a higher score than that, but I'm trying to like be as objective as possible. Anyway, guys, that is all of the cards. I haven't done a bonus card this week. You guys mind? Was it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? It's Saturday. It's time for a bonus card. It's the weekend. Let's kick back under a nice little chair on the beach with a big parasol up over it and have like a funky drink, something that's like a weird color, like a pink or a yellow drink with a nice little straw with an umbrella in it. You know, let's just kick back and look at planes. This is 5 Steel Overseer. We've already done this card. Alinda the Dusk Rose. Now that's an interesting one to get for a bonus card. It's originally printed in Rivals of Ixalan, and it's still like $3.60 to get the cheapest version of it. 4 mana, 2 a white and a black for a 1/1 legendary vampire knight with lifelink. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Alinda. When Linda dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, X being Linda's power. Linda! So yeah, a 4 mana 1/1 lifelink doesn't seem great. But creatures will be dying left and right? This is currently in my LSL Core Commander deck. And at this point, to get a slot in that deck, you have to be pretty good. You also typically have to be like a 2 or 3 drop or a 1 drop to see play in my version of Ellis. But Alinda gets a slot in that deck, right now at least. Because there's creatures dying left and right. It's not just whenever one of your guys dies. It doesn't have to be in a combat step you're even involved in, right? Like 2 guys, you know, swing into each other. You got Samantha over here and Joe just going at it, and like you'll benefit from that. It's got the lifelink, so it's just not too. It doesn't take long for it to be like a 5/5 lifelink. And then when it dies, it pops. You get a bunch of vampires. Usually you're the one making sure it dies, not on blocks. You like sack it to a thing, you know. Like on a big aristocrat term where you've just sacked like 6 tokens and 3 actual guys. Then you sack this, it just pops into like 9 or 10, like it pinatas into 10 little guys with lifelink. You sack all those guys and get the Blood Artist triggers and stuff. Just Alinda's gross, very good card for aristocrats specifically, and a decent commander in her own right. But she goes in the 99 too. So I'm going to give Alinda like a freaking 6.2, man, and I am so dead on. I mean that, dude. I know it sounds like I'm on my BS with that, but Alinda's just so good. Again, either as a commander or in the 99, she helps out decks, even though she costs like a little bit more than some of these decks want to cast for a card like this. Like, she just helps them out like tremendously, dude. She'll end up putting a bunch of permanents on the board, and that's good for certain decks. You know, you're playing Bolus's Citadel, whatever. Like, it's good for certain decks. So, yes, Alinda, 6.2. Yes. But that's all I got for today, everybody. Oh, we made the 20-minute mark. Good news. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.